Introduction. Since ancient times, people have been using different ways and methods to determine the location of a place on the Earth's surface. Scientific investigations have clearly shown how various reference points and imaginary lines on the Earth's surface can be useful for this purpose. Globe. A globe is like a tiny image of our planet that tries to represent every feature on the Earth. It is the closest representation of the Earth. Globes are available in different sizes and materials. The globe shows physical features like the oceans, seas, continents, countries, etc. A globe is useful in many ways. It helps in understanding how days and nights are caused. We can actually rotate the globe to feel the movement of the Earth. It helps in understanding how seasons change over a year. The poles of the globe are also a little tilted in the same manner as those of the Earth. This slight tilt causes the change of seasons, which we experience as summer, winter, autumn, spring, monsoon, etc. A globe shows the physical features of the Earth, such as the oceans and mountains. A globe is also useful in determining the distance between two places. It shows directions, relative sizes, and shapes of the oceans, continents, islands, and seas. Location, relative and absolute. Location refers to the place or position that something occupies in space or on Earth. It may be absolute or relative. Every place has a location which we sometimes understand in relation to the location of other places. For instance, in order to describe the location of your classroom, you may say that it is next to the staff room. Here, the location of the place that we originally referred to is called relative location. Every place on Earth has a unique and definite location, be it a city, a house, or a shop. Each one of these places has an address of its own. This is called the absolute location. Geographers and cartographers use a geographic grid system, with the help of which the location of any place on the Earth can be found. You must have noticed lines crisscrossing a globe or a map. These are the lines of latitude and longitude. They form the grid system called graticule. So, the absolute location of a place would be mentioned as a latitude number followed by the longitude number. For example, the absolute location of Mumbai on the globe is 18° north latitude and 72° east longitude. Latitudes. Latitudes are circular imaginary lines that run horizontally in a west-east direction. The equator is the central latitude as well as the longest one. It divides the Earth into two equal halves to the north and south of it. Each half is called a hemisphere, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. The equator represents the 0° latitude and thus is a reference point. All the latitudes are measured as angles from the center of the Earth, north or south of the equator. Latitudes are also called parallels of latitude because they run parallel to each other. The greatest circle is the equator and the latitudes get shorter as you move north or south of the equator. At the poles, they become points. The latitudes to the north of the equator are denoted by the letter N, while those south of the equator are denoted by the letter S. Example, latitude of Cairo is 29° N and the latitude for Cape Town is 33° S. Important latitudes. There are 180 parallels of latitudes, 90 to the north and 90 to the south of the equator. Of these, some are considered important parallels as they are used as reference points in geography. The important latitudes are as follows: the equator 0°, the Tropic of Cancer 23.5° N in the northern hemisphere, The Tropic of Capricorn 23.5 S in the southern hemisphere. The Arctic Circle 66.5 N north of the equator, and the Antarctic Circle 66.5 S south of the equator. These latitudes since early times are also believed to mark the beginning and the end of the broad climatic zones of the Earth. Thermal zones. There are three major thermal zones into which our planet is divided. These are also known as heat zones. The torrid zone is the area between the two tropics, the Tropic of Cancer in the north and the Tropic of Capricorn in the south. The sun's rays fall vertically in this zone, so it receives the maximum heat. It is regarded as the hottest part of the Earth. This area is also called the Tropics. The temperate zone is the area between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle in the north, and that between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle in the south. Here, the sun is never overhead. Its rays are slanting, so enough heat does not reach this area. Therefore, this zone experiences moderate range of temperature. The Frigid Zone lies between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole, and the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole. These regions are permanently frozen because they receive extreme slanting rays of the sun. This zone is regarded as the coldest on Earth since the sun hardly rises above the horizon. It has 6 months of daylight and 6 months of night. Longitudes. Longitudes are imaginary lines running vertically from the North Pole to the South Pole. The longitudes are also known as meridians. In all, there are 360 meridians. These are also called the Meridians of Longitude. The distance between two longitudes is measured in degrees. Each degree is further divided into minutes and minutes into seconds. The prime meridian is a central longitude which divides the Earth into two vertical halves, the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. Because of equal length, it is difficult to number the meridians. Hence, it has been decided that the count should begin from Greenwich in England. The prime meridian is therefore also called the Greenwich meridian. It is regarded as the 0-degree longitude. The remaining longitudes are measured as angles east or west of the prime meridian. There are 180 meridians of longitude on the east of the prime meridian and 180 on its west. The distance between each degree of longitude is 111.32 km at the equator. At the poles, the distance is 0 km. This is because from the equator, the distance between longitudes keep decreasing till they merge at the poles. All longitudes intersect the equator at right angles. We can locate any place on the globe if we know its latitude and longitude. Standard time and time zones. The Earth rotates from west to east and completes one full circle or 360 degrees of longitude in 24 hours. The time difference between two longitudes is 4 minutes. In the late 1870s, Sir Sanford Fleming designed a plan for a worldwide standard time, which is very much the same as the one we have now. For every 15 degrees of longitude, we have one time zone. Now, there are 360 degrees of longitude, so we have 24 time zones in the world. Standard time is the time that the residents of a time zone or a country follow. It is the local time of the central or standard meridian chosen by that country. The standard time zones often follow boundaries that are accepted worldwide. These may be either natural or political boundaries. In India, the local time of the 82.5 E meridian has been selected as the standard time. This is known as the Indian Standard Time or IST. The 82.5 E longitude passes through Allahabad, which lies roughly at the center of the country. Example: Rashid living in Hyderabad will watch the Wimbledon match at 5:50 p.m. whereas it starts at 1:21 p.m. in London. Some countries span across multiple time zones. Russia spans across 11 time zones but has grouped them into 8 standard time zones. China has 5 time zones but runs on a single standard meridian. International dateline. Can you guess why no direction E or W is required to refer to the 180-degree longitude? It is because the 180-degree longitude represents both the 180-degree E and the 180-degree W longitudes. It runs through the Pacific Ocean and is called the International Dateline. However, it is not a straight line. Let us see how this line works. When you travel east across the International Dateline, you need to subtract a day. Similarly, you gain 1 day when you travel west across the 180-degree longitude.
Actual